with dignity, they're probably going to respond with dignity. If you treat someone, people respond the way that they're treated, more or less.
To add to that, what I've discovered as well is you teach people how to treat you.
Yes. Very much.
Yeah.
Through your actions.
Sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
For sure. Well, you treat a kid from the get-go, how to respond properly, and with feeling to the other person involved. Even from the age of 3, I've seen that. It can happen. So why doesn't it exist more? That's my question. I've managed to have that experience with children. Why doesn't it happen more often?
That's a really good question. I mean, and I don't even think that it's difficult to do this. It's not like it takes more time than condescending to a child.
It's the way that they're raised.
Yeah.
It's the way that they are raised.
What you were saying before about discouraging things and then kind of waiting to see who kind of decided to do those things on their own. Obviously, I mean, you're not going into complete trickery mode. Like, you could still lead by example. You could say, oh, you don't need to learn how to read, don't worry about that, but then they see you reading a book later and having intelligent conversation with your friends about that book and like stuff like that. Yeah. So, I mean, you could listen to classical music, but you could be like, oh, you wouldn't find this interesting. But you're still listening to it yourself, so they want to emulate you because they idolize you. So to a certain extent, you still are telling them what to do. You're just doing it in a more respectful way.
Well, yes.
Doing through your actions, rather.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. It's the difference between show and tell.
Yeah.
Because if you tell, it's one thing. If you show, it's another. Like, one thing that always makes me suspicious of anyone is when they start to tell me what they're like. It's like, oh, I'm like this, I'm like that. It's like, something's off.
If you want to know what someone's like, you should ask their best friend or their
Yeah.
Like when somebody asks me what kind of music I listen to, I hate that.
Yeah.
So do I.
What kind of music you listen to?
Yeah. I can never
Especially in this,
I can never pinpoint it.
Especially in the post-internet climate where we're all... Actually, one of I know a teacher who... Or wait, no, it's not I know. It's someone was telling me about a teacher who was making this comment that they'd been teaching for some time and just watching the way that kids listen to music. Because now, it used to be a point where they were really into one thing or really into another. And now it's like, well, everyone's into everything because they just have access. It's universal access.
Well, because the internet and everything. Of course, all of the means that they have at their fingertips.
Yeah. And
That's
this is what makes this so dangerous. I mean, I think I've said this at some point in one of these before, but access to information without critical thinking skills makes people stupid because they don't know how to sort good information through bad information. If they have a whole bunch of information at their fingertips, they're not going to know how to do it, and it's just going to make them dumb. They're going to wind up on some idiot conspiracy website. And there are some really stupid websites out there. Or they'll watch Zeitgeist, which is, and then they'll think that they
believe anything that's out there.
See, at this point I'll put forward, like, I think a big part of the education system should be some kind of sort of cognitive behavioral therapy type of approach to, like, just basically getting kids actually working with their own minds and understanding how their own minds work, rather than just sort of like, this is how this works, this is how this works, but actually...
Well, I think this is interesting just in terms of like how they teach math is a perfect example. That's the worst. They teach in the worst possible way. There's no comprehension. It's like just memorize this formula, memorize that formula. That's so boring. When actually math is fascinating if you like get into it.
If you have the right application.
If you have the right teacher, if you have you're shown the right application.
Doing work in a different manner is always discouraged, which it should be encouraged because you're obviously thinking outside the box and like figuring out clever ways to do stuff, even if it's not necessarily the most.
Yeah.
But our educational system is completely hampered.
It closes that down.
Like, I mean, we don't have, and this is the problem, is we don't have the resources to teach students in their individual skill sets. The educational system is not funded to do that. Teachers can try to do that, and they are fighting an uphill battle trying to do that. And
this is the biggest shame of all, is the fact that the education system should be seen as the most important backbone to...
Yes. This is actually the solution to all of our problems, is education. Like, it literally is the solution to all of our problems.
Absolutely it is.
But at the same time, it's just, it's not emphasized. And the reason that it doesn't get funded when you look at the political explanations is it's like, oh, this school failed to do this and this school failed to do that. It's like, well, why did they fail in the first place? It's because they didn't have the funding. Like,
No, but it's I think it goes more to what you were saying before about just how it's done is broken. Like, I went to college, and I know a lot of people that went to university, and like you said, university is forcing you to read books and write about those
It's
books.
theological, philosophical.
Even if you're learning something like engineering or math, it's still comes down to that. And college, I mean, I went to college to get a piece of paper that it turns out I didn't even really need, and they didn't teach me anything that I didn't already know. So I just wasted money and time. I learned how to drink. That's all I learned. Like, I mean, so I don't know. It's just some sort of more proper assessment and direction of people is definitely needed.
I mean, I personally found, because I took religious studies, and I basically found that passing was mandatory, but learning was an option. And that's how I would describe that's how I would describe my university experience.
Yeah.
It wasn't hard to get through school. You could come out with a piece of paper, but at the same time, that's part of the reason that the degrees from our schools tend to mean less and less and less, because these educational institutions have become a business, and it literally becomes to the point where students will go in and be like, "I paid this much money. How can you fail me?" Basically.
Yeah, exactly.
And the administration of university campuses don't want that. They don't want dissatisfied customers,
No.
so they want to pass students. And by doing that, they devalue the whole concept of having a degree in anything, basically.
Well, a close buddy of mine went to school also for religion studies. He now works in the government and is a professional photographer, and neither career which he has actually taken any schooling for.
Right. Well,
he's quite successful in both of them. So it's like, it's a little odd.
Well, I think that the point of a BA in whatever your field is supposed to be that you're learning how to teach yourself. It should be. I mean, you're supposed to get a well-rounded background in the classics. You learn a little bit about history. You learn a little bit about philosophy. You learn a little bit about psychology and all those things, and then that kind of should stimulate you to go and learn more things.
It is interesting, though, that there is that general worldview that most people have, that you go to school, you go to university, you come out and you have a career.
Right.
And you don't, question beyond a certain point. So
that's why we have such an issue right now, especially in Canada, with all these people coming out of school looking for jobs, and there's nothing for them.
Yeah.
And everyone's going, well, I want someone with experience, but the fact of the matter is, in which place are these people going to be given those experiences? There isn't, there isn't that demand, but yet there still is. We hear about it, but yet all these people are given no experience.
It leads to a culture of cronyism, where the only way people can get a career or a job is if they know somebody, essentially.
Nepotism, whatever it may lead to, whether it's that or whether it's just knowing who you know and networking and all of those things, like.
Yeah, they should teach you how to present yourself properly and how to get a job rather than what you need to know.
Well,
to do the
university is always seen as the application of just basic knowledge and learning and philosophy and stuff like that, when college is actually like learning to do the task, right? Mm-hmm. That's always the definition between university and college. College is you learn how to do the actual thing, and university is the practice and theory. It's just like the theory behind it. And it feeds into each other. And what happens is both parties end up graduating and they don't know what to do. It doesn't matter whether you're in university or you're in college at this point. Now you're just fucked.
College people get jobs easier than university graduates.
Well,
it's true.
Sometimes
because it's
more
applied.
practical.
It's an applied skill, and that's the thing.
Even with college, though, like I said, from my experience, it was. I already had a strong interest in what I was going to college for, so I already knew a lot about it. I should have just been able to take some sort of equivalency test and then go backpacking in Europe for 2 years. Like it was a waste of time.
Yeah.
Right.
It's funny because I work as a cook,
computer science,
right?
but I had already been into that for years, so. But sorry.
I was saying, I work as a cook, and then I'll have conversations with people, and I'll find out, what's going on, and they always ask me the same question: why are you a cook? I said, well, I like doing this. It's good. I'm good at it. Whatever. And then they almost look disappointed. It's like, oh, but you have all this education. What do you mean, but? I like my job, asshole. How few people can say that?
True. Yeah.